Hey everyone, welcome back for a really special video about restoring my grandfather's anvil. Here's my grandfather, Matthew Weherl, and he's here with my older sister. This is a photo of him with my mom. And then finally, here's a photo of me riding with him on his Farmall H tractor as a little boy. Funny story about that tractor a little bit later on. But here I've pulled the anvil that he gave me. This has been cut out of a railroad track, and my grandfather was a lot of things, but his main career was at Bethlehem Steel, and he was a foreman there for many years. And I kind of have always imagined him asking some iron worker to cut this out. You can see it's been flame cut, and the horn of it and the whole profile is kind of crude. So I've started by refining the profile of this anvil on the broad beck grinder with a 36 grit belt. And what I'm looking to do is just really clean this up, make it beautiful and very usable as a bench anvil. Now, the horn of it, again, is very clunky, and I start trying to grind it to shape, but I wound up later using some other tools to make this profile. My grandfather is a huge inspiration in my life, and I just remember so many great stories that he told me. He grew up, and his mother and father died when he was fairly young. He was a big part of raising his brothers and sisters, and he actually lied to get into World War II. I think he was 17, and he told him he was 18, like so many other men did, to qualified to enter World War II. And he flew reconnaissance in the Pacific Theater, and I remember him telling me stories about how they would be flying long hours and always miss chow, and he and his crew actually wound up taking like dog food up on some of their flights just so that they had something to eat. And that's kind of the hallmark of that generation. They would do anything and everything to get the job done. That's why we still call them the greatest generation. The heel of this anvil was very unbalanced compared to the front. And so I wound up cutting the back off, trimming it up just a little bit to make it more balanced and even and uniform looking. I'm using a plasma torch here, which is not unlike the oxyacetylene torch that was used originally to make this. Same kind of principle, it's just air and electricity instead of oxyacetylene. So the horn, as you can see, was super clunky originally. So I want to blend this horn and make it much longer and more refined. And my grandfather's father was originally from Austria. So I'm going to kind of give this new horn shape a German or Austrian blend to it. A lot of the South German anvils just taper beautifully straight into the body. And that's kind of my goal with this here, is I want to shape this horn and have it transition seamlessly into what's normally the rest of the flat face. And you can see I saved a lot of time by beveling as well with the plasma cutter, to really refine that shape and make it truly a horn. I want this horn to be really delicate on the end for real fine work. I have some huge anvils in the shop, including a 650-pound German anvil. Here's a photo. My cousin Maddie brought my grandfather to my shop early on when I first started, and he's checking out the forge and the power hammer with me. Really special memory. But after plasma cutting that horn to shape, I then go into the Bader Space Saver, which is anything but. It's a huge grinder, and wind up, shaping up the horn. Even snapped a belt there, as you could see. But this is an awesome grinder. 2 horsepower motor, so plenty of power to grind out the rough cut marks from the plasma cutter on this horn. And I'm just taking this 36 grit belt on the slack belt portion. That's what's called when there's no backing behind it, and using it to refine the shape of this anvil. Makes me really proud to think about my grandfather. He visited the shop, as you just saw in those couple photos. When I first started, I was actually working by myself back then, and we've grown to a 7-man operation. And I think he would be proud if he could see where we're at today. I had very few tools back then as well, and over the last 20 years, just bit by bit, piece by piece, we've added so many great tools to the shop, like this grinder here. There's also some other specialized grinders we'll show in use. Yeah, and the funny story about this tractor, so you can see I'm a little boy here, probably only 4 or 5 years old, riding with him on that tractor. And he called me up later in life, and I want to say he was about 83 when he called me up, and he said, "Hey, Matt, I want to fix up the bucket on my old farm for pushing snow. Can you come take it and weld it for me?" And I said, sure. So I came over, and he's sitting on a chair watching me try to unbolt the bucket on this old farm, and the bolts are all rusty and not coming loose at all. And I'm trying with 2 big wrenches to break these bolts loose. And he asked me, "Hey, do you want some help?" And keep in mind, he's like 83. So in my mind, I'm thinking, hey, what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to do anything. You're old. And, I just didn't think he could do that much. Well, he wound up getting up and helping me. And to this day, I don't think I've ever felt a stronger person on the other end of a wrench as I did when he wrenched on the other end of the bolt and broke it loose. He was an extremely strong man, even in his 80s. And so I took that bucket, fixed it up, and wound up getting it ready for him to plow. Here you can see I'm working on a mare braid grinder to clean it up, and I'm just using both of these grinders to refine the form and bring some new life to this anvil. So I also cut down the heel a little bit and thinned out the heel. A little bit ago while I was telling that story, you could see I also used the mill to clean up the entire face of the anvil, as well as mill the sides, and that made the face and the top just absolutely perfectly flat, instead of crowned like it was as an old railroad rail. So now doing just a little bit of final blend on that horn after doing the milling, because I want it to transition and blend into it really seamlessly. So I come back to the Bader Space Saver to do that work. Again, just cleaning up that horn on this 3 by 132 inch belt. But believe it or not, this is not the biggest belt grinder we have. And as I finish this piece up, I'm going to transition to that larger grinder. So here is the largest grinder we have, which is 6 inch by I think it's 306 inch long belt. And this is called a stroke sander. And what I'm doing here is just giving the face or the top of the anvil just a final flat sand. This is a 120 grit belt. And using this backer pad, I'm able to perfectly sand the top of this anvil. So I start with the 120 grit belt on this large sander. Again, even using the slack belt to grind some on the horn and refine that shape again. And then I transition to a Scotch-Brite belt just to polish that face even finer. I've often thought about my grandfather and like when he came back from World War II, just how the country was and how much it's changed since then. There's so little infrastructure back then, and companies like Bethlehem Steel, really helped change the landscape of America and build so many bridges, and what an important company it was. And I'm proud that my grandfather worked there. There I was just taking the wire wheel and cleaning up the little bit of rust that was still on the body. And now, since I cut that heel off the back, I'm taking and recutting 2 bolt holes. I decided to do these with a plasma cutter, kind of again in keeping with how the original ones were cut into this anvil. And we are almost done this piece. It just looks really great. Just a little bit of grinding, clean up those plasma holes. And yeah, it's so much fun to watch this thing being transformed and brought to life. And now that it's all finished, I'm going to take some tung oil and coat really all the anvil, the polished and unpolished surfaces. And this will prevent it from rusting up and just give it a beautiful finish. I use this on a lot of my tools. It's one of the few things that holds up here on the humid East Coast. And it just gives the anvil a beautiful finish. What was fun is, as I was wire brushing it, it removed the rust, but you can see just a little bit of that yellow paint still poking through and down in the crevices. And I love to leave that just as a reminder of what it looked like in his barn. And here's the finished piece. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, hit that subscribe button for more content. Have a great day.